Thank you so much for being here. I'm Izzy.
Hi, Izzy. Can you tell us where you're based out of and what services you offer?
Yeah, so I'm based out of Salem, Oregon, and I'm the founder of the Joy Recovery Method. I am a consultant that works with people of all mental health abilities. Either in home, I do a signature service, which is a 1 day in home consultation for people who are looking to get ready to do my 30-day mental health reset. The reset was developed by me. I am a person who struggled in the psychiatric system for many years and have just now been able to kind of figure out the secret formula to creating joy in your life while still working with the psychiatric system. It's a combination of lifestyle factors, both physiological, verbal, emotional, and there is a spiritual component to it. But I offer in-person resets as well as remote coaching for anyone who is looking for more joy in their lives.
You mentioned spirituality. Do you need to be a certain denomination or could you elaborate?
Yeah, so when I speak about a spiritual element to healing, what I'm really talking about is helping an individual find their personal power. You can fit this method into, and it's personalized to everyone, into any sort of religion, any sort of belief system. But it's for anyone who is looking to believe in themselves again.
Are you a therapist or what qualifies you to do this?
So, no. So, I am a consultant. I come into people's homes and help them get out of some of the deepest, darkest holes of their lives. I'm not a person that is going to be replacing your ongoing therapist. You should still go to your psychiatrist. You should still go to all of your visits. I am a person that is going to help you move through large lifestyle change in order to get to a point where you can feel joy and light and happy again. Um, I am someone who was in the psychiatric system from a relatively young age. At about 19 years old, I first went to a psychiatrist, and I have a long history of being extremely over medicated, which is very, very common in the United States psychiatric system today. Because of that over medication, I was unfortunately placed as a candidate for electroconvulsive therapy, which is the thing that you've probably seen horror stories of on TV, where they literally shock your brain. It is a full surgery where you're put under and they shock your brain. They give you a seizure, and it is 80% effective for people that have treatment resistant depression. So I had that done without any family support after college for 2 years. I was so sick that I probably had over 100 surgeries. And there are two different types of electroconvulsive therapy, but I unfortunately only the bilateral type worked, and bilateral electroconvulsive therapy is the most hardcore as far as memory loss. So I don't remember really graduating college. I don't remember at least a year and a half of my life. And unfortunately, when the electroconvulsive therapy was done, I went right back to being extremely unwell again. And I came to a point with my medications where the psychiatrists were basically like, we got nothing else for you. You've tried every antipsychotic, we've tried it all, and we don't know why you're so miserable. Meanwhile, I'm 20, 25, 26 years old on 13 plus medications with no support. And I had not really ever been able to go back and heal a lot of the trauma that I went through, which is a portion of things that need to be dealt with. Maybe not necessarily during the first 30 days of the reset, because the reset itself is more about focusing your energy towards everything that is going right and habit restructuring. But for victims of narcissistic family abuse or narcissistic partner abuse, that is a component that also needs to be addressed for long-term well-being. So, no, I am not a therapist. However, I have gone through extensive training, 2 different trainings on dialectical behavioral therapy. So I would say I'm pretty much an expert on that. I have, and I've really just been an insider on the system. I understand through my own research and through personal experience how easy it is to be told that things that are normal for someone who's had a harder life are actually symptoms of something bigger, and then get roped into a situation where, like me, after having electroconvulsive therapy, I was so over medicated and did not know it at the time because I didn't have any support, that I was not able to stand long enough to walk for an entire year. So I spent a year after all this electroconvulsive therapy in a bed alone in Chico, California, with no support. And so that's a pretty high level of trauma to come out of. And so a lot of what I do is refocusing the mind on every win, on very positive, repetitive affirmations and intense physiological change, so that the person is not dwelling on what happened to them, but is able to push through and focus on mostly the positive. It's not toxic positivity. It's actually a survival mechanism that then allows you to move into just a more joyful life.
Who should not utilize your services?
So what I offer can be integrated into many different types of people's lives. That being said, if you have an ongoing addiction issue, I can meet with you and I can consult with you, but that issue needs to be rectified before starting the reset. Because if you are a severe alcoholic or have an issue with drugs, going to a rehab and then having a plan for when you leave rehab, which is something I can help with on an ongoing basis, is going to be extremely supportive to you. But trying to do this reset while struggling with some sort of addiction, again, would be like putting a tarp on a hurricane. It just doesn't work. As far as age ranges that I specialize with, I myself started really struggling with mental health problems early in my teen years. So I know that I can help people probably from teens onward and even into old age. We can all find joy at any time in our lives. And again, as I said, I am not a medical professional, but I will work in tandem with what is already going on with you. And I will be extremely honest if I feel like you do need some additional medical support, because that is not my field. I am a consultant for your mental health, but really large groups of people can benefit from what I'm offering.
How do you expect to teach joy to someone in the deepest, darkest mental hole of their life?
Yeah. So, as I said before, I'm not teaching toxic positivity here. I know what it's like to be in that situation that person is in. At best, what we would be looking at is someone who is meeting with their psychiatrist maybe once a week, probably every other week to once a month, meeting with their therapist hopefully once a week, and depending on their level of ability, may not know how to fill their time and may have trouble even getting out of bed, doing basic activities. Whoever they are struggling. And so what I teach in this 30-day reset and onward with consulting is that the first week, the first 4 days or so to a week, is all about physiology. Getting your body into a state where you can even move into more positive thought patterns is first. First body, then mind. So that includes same time waking up and going to bed every night. Sleep is paramountly important. If you are, just going to your psychiatrist like I have in the past, and changing meds every 2 weeks and expecting for everything to change without any lifestyle change, unfortunately, it's never going to last. I've lived it. The most you can probably expect from an uplift from a change in medication is, 1 to 2 to maybe 3 months of somewhat of relief or elation, and then it falls back down again, and then they want to put you on something else or something on top of what is already there, and it becomes this really dangerous cycle. So, the first step is physiological stuff: protein, breakfast, getting up at the same time, certain affirmations that you say in the morning that make it easier over time. There is an exercise component, but everybody's needs are different, and everybody's abilities are different as well as people's interests in the type of exercise that they're willing to do. Within the first 30 days, you do need to move at least somewhat once a day, even if it's just a 10-minute walk. You have to move. You have to process the food that's in your belly. It's just important to move your body, and it's a natural antidepressant. So it's a process, but yeah. So, within the first few days to a week, it's all about mastering physiological things, the basis of our humanity, as Maslow's hierarchy of needs go. If you have solid sleep, if you are eating protein consistently, if you are taking care of your digestive system, making efforts to relieve your nervous system a bit, and putting away your phone 30 minutes before bed, things that do take a bit of self-control but can become habits, your mental health will just improve already automatically within the first week. Then within the kind of the second phase of it is moving into additional things that really are really supportive and are non-negotiables for me. I meditate every day. I think that everybody should, especially if you have an issue with focus, which I was very unfocused within the first few weeks of the reset. So meditating every day, I know everybody hates it, but it literally builds your ability to focus. It changes the structure of your entire brain. And I have a specific meditation that I do every day. I do a dip in an ice kind of cold plunge in the morning. So there's additional things that you start adding on, as well as a journaling component. And, depending if you're working or you're not, counting every single win, no matter how small. And I'm talking to the point where I was literally saying out loud to myself in the bathroom, your memory is getting better. You're getting so much healthier. Look at how much healthier you're getting. And at work, I remembered how to transfer a call. A good friend of mine taught me how to transfer a call at my work. And the fact that I remembered that, I wrote down as a win, because I was having memory problems, focusing problems. And the fact that I remembered that, even if it seems small, went on my list. And my list started getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, because once you win, there's a psychological phenomenon called the winner effect. The more you win, the more you continue to win. And so you're building every day, you're building momentum on what you did the day before. And it just all becomes about consistency and staying away from some rough, kind of addictive behavior is going to be a very big part of that. And that's something that I can speak to in another question. But just trying to get your mind and body clean and clear, and then the joy follows. So you can't you can't tell someone to write down their cognitive behavioral therapy reframing if they're eating Twinkies every day and have no sleep schedule. That's going to be like trying to put a tarp over an entire hurricane. It doesn't work. But if you start from the basis of human physiology and move upwards, then you have a very strong ability to build habits that will help you for the rest of your life.
Earlier, you mentioned narcissistic abuse.
Mm-hmm.
How does that fall into what you do?
Yeah, so like many individuals in the world right now, um, I had two narcissistic parents. My mom was, I think it's called a malevolent narcissist. My dad, a vulnerable narcissist. So, to those who are not familiar with narcissism, the narcissistic family unit, if you are the unfavored child, if you are the scapegoat, which I have become the scapegoat, kind of the black sheep of the family, there is some very severe damage, emotional and sometimes physical, to that child, or maybe children, depending on how big the family is. Um, Narcissistic abuse was kind of all the rage in social media at one point, maybe a couple years ago. I can't really remember. And that was actually really helpful for me because I did learn from the experts like Dr. Romani, some other experts on what had actually happened, understanding what even went on in my family, why it was different, and who to cut out and how to handle when I do meet narcissists. Because the reality of life today in America is that 1 in 5 people you will meet is narcissistic, which means that 1 in 5 people that you meet does not feel guilt when they harm others. So there's a component of, if you have trauma from narcissistic abuse, that is a very specific type of trauma. I myself had to do some spiritual work called journeying. It's called shamanic journeying. And I don't recommend it for everyone, especially not during the reset. But it helps people recover the part of their soul that their parents took from them. My parents, at least my mother, stole a part of my soul as a child. It was that damaging. It's some shamans refer to it as a rape of the child's soul. And that does need to be recovered. And that is a portion, I think, of any survivor's journey that is going to need to be looked at some point, that the aftercare consulting can address. Can you pause it? And then the other portion of it that I think is really important is real time, like real life consulting on people to understand what their recovery is going to look like for other people around them. So you like may recover, and not everybody's going to be supportive. And if you have people in your life that you are somewhat suspicious, maybe narcissistic, you will know pretty quickly when you start going on the upswing, things start changing with the people around you. So navigating that is something that is so beyond important, and something that I think is not taught. There have been multiple times where I have almost fully recovered in my life just to be thwarted by a very attractive narcissist who came into my life and put me back down again with some sort of really malicious act that I could not have seen coming. So I will train people during the reset and after to be aware of who may be dangerous to them, even if they seem nice at first, how to protect themselves, and like going forward into their lives, how to, protect their light, because narcissists are attracted to people with big light. So if you have been demolished by a narcissist in your life, congratulations, you must be pretty awesome, because narcissists only go after people that they're threatened by. So, I'm going to help you with that component as well, which is not something that every consultant can help you with.
Okay, and finally, what does joy really mean to you?
Yeah, so joy for me is freedom. And freedom is synonymous with health. So wealth is incredibly helpful. It gives us a ton of abilities and freedom to do the things that we want to do. But I would argue that the greatest possible asset and currency that you can have as a human being is incredible physical and mental health. Um, you can be successful while having negative mental health, but it's all about the journey. And if you're not enjoying it, then what are we really doing here? And if your mental health is really low, then it's very hard to make money. So fixing your physiological state and then bringing yourself joy is the ultimate freedom. And so, like, I look forward to my day every single day. I dance through Ross, the supermarket. I blast music wherever I go in my little chipmunks, like Kia chipmunk kind of hamster Prius that I travel around Salem in. Um, I I just literally don't care what anybody thinks, because I've lived every possible negative scenario that could happen. It's already happened. I don't have anything to be afraid of anymore. And I know how to master having a good time without having to do drugs or anything except like exceedingly bad for you. So, joy is freedom of not caring and really feeling free to feel good all the time and know what's important to you.